Dr. R. Sugurat Samuel is working as professor in physics in SRM University, Chennai. He is also training students for IIT JEE, AIEEE and BITSAT. He has more than 16 years of academic experience both in teaching and research. He has published a book titled The Complete Handbook of Bachelor of Electronic Science Practicals. It is prescribed book in the syllabus for BSc Electronic Science by University of Madras. He has attended and presented papers in several national and international conferences and conducted many training programs and workshops. He has experience in both regular classroom teaching and also online teaching. His research areas are ultrasonics, polymers, crystal growth, and photovoltaic systems.
Welcome to UGC lecture series in BSc Honours in Physics. We have been listening to a series of lectures on the subject oscillations and waves. This is a paper found in the second semester of the program. This is the 7th lecture in the series. Before we start today's lecture, let us see the session outline of today's lecture. In this session, we are going to see the oscillation of liquid in a U-tube, followed by the concepts related to compound pendulum. We have been discussing about systems of oscillating materials. We have already seen the concept related to the spring mass system, followed by a simple pendulum, and in the last lecture we have seen the concept related to torsional pendulum. And in continuation to that, in today's lecture we are going to see the concepts of oscillation of a liquid in a U-tube. When we take a liquid which is non-viscous in a U-tube, the level of liquid will be the same in the two limbs of the U-tube in a undisturbed condition. So, let us technically see what is a U-tube and how the liquid is taken in a U-tube. Consider a non-viscous liquid column of length L is taken in a U-tube of uniform cross-sectional area A. Initially, the level of liquid in the limbs is the same, which is also called as the undisturbed condition. If the liquid on one side of the tube is depressed by blowing gently, the levels of the liquid oscillates for a short time about their initial positions O and C in the diagram before the oscillation coming to rest. Let us see the positions O and C in the picture. This is a disturbed condition when the liquid is depressed by blowing air or by pressing with some piston at this right hand side limb. The liquid is lowered, so the liquid rises on the other limb. In the undisturbed condition, the original levels would be the OC. This is the level of the liquid in the undisturbed condition. The level will be the same in the two limbs of the tube. Now, by disturbing the level by some external means, a shift of y, small y, which we are going to see in the diagram, is produced on one side of the limb, and thus on the other side of the limb also the disturbance y is produced simultaneously. Let us have a look at the diagram to see how the depression and the raising of the liquid is happening on the two limbs by the same height. On the right hand side limb, with respect to this reference, there is a depression y produced. On the left hand side limb, the same level it is raised because the area of cross section of the tube is same uniform. At every point the area is the same. So, what is the level depressed here, the same level is raised here. Now, what is the difference in the levels of liquid in the disturbed condition? Why is the depression on one limb and why is the raise of the liquid, the level raised on the other limb? So, the total difference in the height is 2 times the depression or 2y. So, that point we need to keep in mind. In the disturbed condition, there is a difference of 2y in the liquid levels in the 2 columns of the U tube. Once it is understood, we can develop the equations to see how the restoring force is producing oscillation. Now, we have to identify the restoring force. For that, we need to consider the pressure difference on the 2 limbs. Let us take the expressions further. If the liquid in one of the limbs is depressed by y, there will be a difference of 2y in the liquid levels in the 2 limbs. At some instant, suppose the level of the liquid liquid on the left hand side of the limb is at D at a height y above its original position O, the level B of the liquid on the other side is then at the depth y below its original position C. This we have understood by looking at the diagram. Now, we will develop the equations. So, the expression for the excess pressure P on the liquid due to the restoring force is given as P is equal to excess height multiplied with density and multiplied with the acceleration due to gravity. We know the pressure due to a liquid column is h rho g. H is the height of the liquid, rho is the density of the liquid and g is the acceleration due to gravity, which is a standard equation we all have learnt in the Pascal's law topic. Now, we are making use of the standard expression height multiplied with density multiplied with acceleration due to gravity will give us the excess pressure in this case. For that, we need to take the excess height, which is 2y in the particular case. How the equations are further developed? So, the excess pressure is taken as 2 times y multiplied with rho and g. Once we know the expression for the pressure, we can simultaneously get an expression for the force on the liquid. So, the force on the liquid is the pressure multiplied with area of cross section of the tube. So, that is done here. This is the force responsible for the oscillation. So, the area is multiplied, area of cross section is taken as capital A and we have got this as the final expression for the force. This force is the restoring force which brings the raised liquid level in one limb back to the mean position. And we have introduced a negative sign in the expression, which is customarily done now. We look at the direction of the force and the displacement of the object which is oscillating, and if there is a sense of opposite directions in the 2, we put a minus sign. So, here also the same thing is done. Let us see how the force and the displacement are opposite to each other. The negative sign indicates that the force towards O is opposite to the displacement measured from O at that instant. Let us have a look at the diagram to see how the force and the displacement are opposite to each other. The displacement here at this point is taken as y, which is positive, which is in the upward direction, and due to which the restoring force is downwards, which is lowered here. The same thing could be discussed in the reverse manner on the right hand side limb. So, we know how the negative sign is introduced, keeping the force direction and the displacement direction in mind. Once it is done, what is the effect of the restoring force? When force acts on the body, it should accelerate. So, here what is accelerating? The entire liquid should accelerate. We can develop the equations further with this understanding. The mass of the liquid column of length L is now the volume multiplied with density. So, we get the expression for the entire mass of the liquid column. This mass is only going to accelerate. So, this restoring force is accelerating the entire liquid column with an acceleration a. So, when we substitute the expression for the mass, which is taken as the volume, which is length multiplied with area, and when we substitute that here, the small a here is the acceleration of the entire liquid column. We can equate these two forces, the restoring force produced due to the difference in the level of the liquid and the acceleration caused by the force on the liquid of mass m. When we equate the two expressions, we can further look at the general equation, whether it is obtained in this case also or not for SHM. After equating the above two equations of force, we get this as the final expression. When we simplify this, we find the acceleration is proportional to the displacement y, which is very well matching with the standard equation we normally compare for the SHM. Here we have taken the acceleration as a. In the previous cases, we have taken the acceleration as second order derivative of the varying quantity, either the displacement or angular displacement, but here because we have done such a simplification several times as of now, we can take that acceleration as a itself here and check whether it is matching with the standard equation. We have seen it is very much matching with the general equation of the simple harmonic motion. Now, our work is to find out what is omega by comparing the two equations. Let us go ahead. It is concluded that the oscillation is SHM because the equation we derived matches with the general equation of SHM. Now, by comparing the two equations, we can write the expression for omega as like this. Now, after finding omega, what is the next step? We need to make use of the standard result and write the expression for time period. That is done now like this. Now, by using the standard result, the time period is written in this manner, which is 2 pi square root of L divided by 2g. Hence, we have obtained the equation for time period of oscillation. We have taken up the oscillation of liquid in a U tube and checked whether the oscillation is SHM, and we have found it is very much SHM in nature, and finally, we have got the expression for the time period of oscillation of the liquid column in the U tube, which also has the very standard form. In the numerator, we have the length L, and in the denominator, we have the acceleration due to gravity. So, the oscillation is SHM in nature, and we have got the expression for time period. Now, we shall take the next oscillating system, which is a compound pendulum. We shall see what is a compound pendulum and discuss it further after a short break. Welcome back. We are going to see the compound pendulum. What is a compound pendulum? Any object which is oscillating with respect to a point considered in the object is called a compound pendulum. There is another name by which also this compound pendulum is called. It is a physical pendulum. Let us see what is a compound pendulum. Any rigid body suspended from a fixed support constitutes a compound pendulum. At equilibrium, the center of mass is vertically below the point of suspension. When it is pulled to the side, it executes oscillation due to the restoring force, which is mg sin theta. We can show that the oscillation is SHM for small values of theta. In physical pendulum or in compound pendulum, the point of suspension is not an external point. A part of the body maybe a tip or a slightly inner portion, we choose a point and suspend the object with respect to that point and give a gentle tap to the object so that it oscillates. How does it look like? Let us take a random shaped object and see how it is suspended and how it is made to oscillate. Let us have the slide and understand how a compound pendulum looks like. This is typically a compound pendulum. It is a randomly shaped object, some object, maybe a stone or an irregular object. A point is chosen as the point of suspension. Here it is taken as O, and this object has this as the center of mass, that is represented as C here, and in the undisturbed condition, due to the statics, this center of mass will be vertically below the point of suspension and the mg also will be acting downwards. So, this is the stable position of the object. When we shift the center of mass to any one side, here it is shifted to the right hand side, then the case is slightly getting altered, still the force is acting downwards, the mg weight is acting downwards, and it could be resolved into two components as usual, mg cos theta and mg sin theta. Which force is responsible, which component of the force is responsible for bringing it back to the original position, which is the mean position? It is mg sin theta. So, that is mentioned in the points. So, this mg sin theta brings it back to the equilibrium position, or we call that as the neutral position or stable position. What will happen when it comes back to the original position? Due to the restoring force, and here it is a rotational motion. So, rather than considering the force, we need to consider the restoring torque. So, let us see what is the restoring torque in the case of a compound pendulum. The direction of theta is anti-clockwise in the previous diagram, and it is taken as positive. We can take any one as positive, we can take sometimes anti-clockwise as positive or clockwise as positive, but we need to maintain the trend. If clockwise direction is taken as positive, anti-clockwise would be taken as the negative and vice versa. Now, the net torque is given as L mg sin theta. Mg sin theta is the force and the perpendicular distance is L. And as usual, we make an approximation. When the theta is very small, sin theta can be taken as theta itself, and it is mentioned here. So, the expression is simplified as negative of L multiplied with mg theta. Here the L is OC. Where is the OC length? Let us look at the diagram. OC is the distance between the point of suspension and point center of mass, point of center of mass. So, it is the distance between the 2 points, that is taken as L here. And because of this restoring torque, which is negative of L mg theta, the entire object, the mass will have an acceleration, which is an angular acceleration. So, we can write this torque as I naught alpha. What is I naught? It is the moment of inertia of the oscillating object. Alpha is angular acceleration. The same trend we are following. We find out the restoring torque. The restoring torque causes an angular acceleration. So, we write the torque is moment of inertia multiplied with angular acceleration, and check whether this angular acceleration is proportional to the angle, and let us see that point here. So, we write the equation like this. It is I naught alpha, which is equal to negative of L mg sin theta. Since we see the alpha is proportional to the negative of theta, we conclude that the oscillation is SHM in nature. When we rewrite it for alpha, we arrive at this equation, which is negative of mgl divided by I naught into theta, which very well tells the oscillation is SHM in nature. By comparing the above equation with the general equation of the SHM, we can write further. Alpha is written like this, which very well matches with the general equation of simple harmonic motion. So, we can find out what is omega. We are able to find the term omega by comparing the two equations. So, it is square root, omega is square root of mgl divided by I naught. What is the next step normally we do after identifying what is omega? We use the standard equation relating omega and time period and write the equation for time period. So, let us do the same here also. Once it is identified, once omega is identified, we rewrite it for time period by making use of the standard equation, and we get this as the time period of oscillation, which is nothing but 2 pi square root of the moment of inertia I naught divided by mgl. We have got the time period of oscillation of the compound pendulum. In the regular expression for it, we have within the square root I naught, which is the moment of inertia of the object, and in the denominator we have mgl. And before we arrived at the expression for time period, we have also proved that the oscillation is SHM provided the angle theta is very small. What is I naught? Here we need to be little careful. In the earlier expressions where the angular oscillations were considered, the moment of inertia was taken with respect to a fixed point. It was not taken with respect to the center of mass. In the same manner, here also the moment of inertia of this oscillating object has to be taken with respect to the point of oscillation, not with respect to the center of mass, because the oscillation, which is partly a rotation, repeating rotation is only oscillation here, which is angular oscillation. It is with respect to the point O, which is point of suspension. So, the I naught here implies it is the moment of inertia of the object with respect to the point of suspension. That could be found out using some supporting experiments, and once it is substituted, we can get the expression for the time period t. Normally, in the experiments conducted with the compound pendulum, we will be able to measure the time period by conducting the experiment. We will make the pendulum oscillate for a known number of times and find out what is the time period. So, this experiment is mostly performed to find the moment of inertia of a irregular object. That is the application of a compound pendulum. And one more thing we can understand from the final expression we have obtained for the time period. Let us have a look at the expression. In the denominator of this expression, we have the term L. What is L? L is the distance between the point of suspension and the point of center of mass. When we reduce this L, what is likely to happen? In the expression, as the L decreases, the time period is likely to increase, because the other terms are not altered. Maybe the numerator I naught will get altered, because we have to use the parallel axis theorem to find out the moment of inertia of the object with respect to the point of suspension. If we know the moment of inertia of the oscillating object with respect to its center of mass, then using parallel axis theorem, we can find out the moment of inertia of the object with respect to the point of suspension. Now, if this length L is reduced, the denominator will keep increasing, and because of that the time period will keep increasing. What is the meaning of it? When the time period increases, the oscillation becomes very slow. Slow down of the oscillation will happen as we decrease the length L. Let us look at the diagram of the compound pendulum we have considered to see how the reduction in length increases the time period of oscillation. Let us have a look at the diagram. The length L is the distance OC. What is the meaning of reducing the length OC? We shift the point of suspension from this O to a closer value to C. We cannot change the value of the position of C because it is the center of mass, but we can only shift the point of suspension O towards C. Thus, we can reduce the distance between the point of suspension and the point of center of mass. What is the extreme value of this OC? To what extent we can reduce the length or the distance between the point O, point of suspension, and C, the point of center of mass? To what extent? Let us have a look at the diagram. When we reduce this length to a critical value, say 0, when the O coincides with C, what will happen? Let us have a look at the expression now to see what is the effect it produces. When this L becomes 0, the denominator becomes 0. So, this expression becomes infinity. Any number divided by 0 will give infinity as the value. So, the time period becomes infinity. What is the meaning of time period becoming infinity? That means the oscillation which is happening in one direction, it will not return. It will continue and the oscillation is converted into rotation because the denominator term becomes 0. So, in conclusion, we cannot make a compound pendulum oscillate with respect to the center of mass. We cannot choose the center of mass, the point center of mass as the point of suspension for oscillation. When we try to do that, the oscillation is converted into rotation. Let us see today's summary. In this session, we have seen the oscillation of liquid in U-tube and also the compound pendulum in detail. Let us test our understanding by answering these questions. Prove the oscillations of liquid in U-tube is SHM in nature and obtain the expression for time period. Discuss the compound pendulum and obtain the expression for its time period. Explain why a compound pendulum cannot be made to oscillate with respect to its center of mass. In the next lecture, we will be able to see a modified form of the compound pendulum, which is called a bar pendulum. So, I reserve the concept of bar pendulum for the subsequent lecture. So, with this, I wind up today's lecture. Thank you for listening.